Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Local News. One more person has died from COVID-19 in Saskatchewan. It was a person in their 60s in the Regina zone. There are 274 new cases, 26 of those in the Northwest zone. The Northwest 2 subzone, which is the immediate Lloydminster area, has 15 new and 104 active cases. 4,763 cases are considered active in the province. 143 people are in hospital, 9 are in the Northwest. 26 people are in intensive care, 59 more people have recovered. It is time now for today's retrospect. Here's Blake Nath.
This week in retrospect. Back in '95, a new program launched at Lakeland College aimed at attracting tourists.
Sherry Heller is promoting the second biggest industry in Alberta, tourism, and her dedication has led to the launching of a new program at Lakeland College, a program she believes fills a void.
So the program evolved because of a need for more tourism training, and we took a look at some gaps that existed in the industry. There were some really good hospitality programs and some excellent travel agency programs and that sort of thing, but there wasn't a lot that really enabled small business operators or those that want to get into small businesses to learn how to market efficiently.
3 years later, 14 students are enrolled in an 8-month course learning the ins and outs of how to be successful in the industry.
Some of the advantages of radio.
The course is the first of its kind in the Prairie provinces and, like anything, has a few kinks to work out, but is getting good reviews from students.
Being the first year, there does need some readjustments of some of the courses. They need to be more focused towards adventure tourism, but so far it's an excellent program. Learned a lot of things. They have learned a lot about business, and now we're getting into more of the tourism courses, learning a lot about Canadian tourism, what there is to see, what there is to do, what people expect when they come to our country.
And in 2000, local hunters and gun hobbyists react to the federal firearm registration program.
Darlene Kurtzinger sells guns. She says her customers have mixed feelings about the new gun registration laws.
A lot of them don't like it, and some of them don't care, and some of them, well, they're putting up with it.
The most recent deadline of December 31st to buy your firearms license is fast approaching, and Kurtzinger says despite the frustration over this new law, it hasn't affected the business.
Actually, our gun sales have been pretty good. Sure, it's slowed down a little bit, but everybody seems to be wanting a gun before January 1st, 2001.
Even though the sales at Doug & Doug's haven't been affected by Bill C-68, they still have to undergo a number of changes. First of all, customers have to show their firearms license in order to purchase a gun. And secondly, the staff has to also have their own license before they can sell a gun to a customer. Now, they're not the only ones going through changes with this new bill. The RCMP are also gearing up for when the bill comes into effect on January 1st.
And that's all for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
Now our Connor Chan will take a look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks a lot, Jasmine. Looking right now, 4 degrees right now. It's going to be probably the last time we'll see temperatures like this, at least for a little while, as we are going to get back into the minuses really quickly here. But with the wind now coming from the southwest at 25 kilometers an hour, it does feel a little bit chillier, more around that -2 to -3 range there. As we take a look at some other temperatures here in the Lakeland region, 5 degrees in Vermilion currently right now, with 4 in Vegreville, Marwayne, and Pierceland as well. 9 degrees out in Edmonton, 8 in Lac La Biche up north, 6 in both Bonnyville and Cold Lake. 6 we also see in Provost and Macklin, -2 in North Battleford currently right now, with 3 degrees in Green Lake, Meadow Lake, and then 2 degrees in St. Walburg with 1 degree in Maidstone. Here's a look at the satellite radar map heading into the next little bit here. There will be some rain activity in the farther northern regions, kind of like around that La Loche, La Ronge, Buffalo Narrows area. area there. And then southern Alberta, like Calgary and Red Deer and Banff, are going to get some snow, expected up to around 4 centimeters around down south, but no snow immediately for us here quite yet, just mainly cloud coverage over the next little bit here. As we take a look at overnight, North Battleford -5 with a few clouds overnight, going into 1 degree tomorrow throughout the daytime with mostly cloud coverage there. -2 overnight in Cold Lake with some clouds continuing on into tomorrow with a daytime high there of 2 degrees. And then for us here in Lloydminster, -3 overnight with some clouds clearing up a little bit tomorrow with a daytime high of 2 with a little bit of sun and some cloud coverage there, because we are going to expect that cloud coverage continuing on for the next little bit here. As we take a look here at the next 3 days, we are going to start getting back into the minuses there. -1 the daytime high on Wednesday, but it could feel more like -14 as the wind chill starts to pick things up a little bit there. -12 with the wind chill for tomorrow for us here in Lloydminster there, and then -9 with the wind chill for Thursday, but our expected daytime high there is -4 with a low there of -10 to start the day. So we are going to get fairly colder heading into the weekend here, but we'll have more weather details later on. But we'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more primetime local news.
There were lots of high and low points this week in the NFL. Connor Chan and Eric Bay break down a few of the games from this past Sunday.
Well, joining us for the Monday sports panel is Eric Bay. Eric, lots to talk about, especially in the NFL this weekend, but the big headline was the fact that the New York Giants are still winless. They had a chance to win their first game of the year against the Las Vegas Raiders, who are also struggling, but that last-second play really kind of cost one man his job in particular.
Yeah, obviously, Jets defensive coordinator Greg Williams has been fired after that basically breakdown. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, 5 seconds left, you're up by 4 points. That should be a win. And not only do they almost blow it the play before, then they actually blow it on a deep bomb. There's just no excuse for that. And I think it's such a Jets way to lose too, and kind of preserve the perfect winless season so far, and kind of give them that front running in the race for Trevor Lawrence. Although for me, actually, kind of the bigger thing might be the concern about the Las Vegas Raiders and just how poorly they've looked. I mean, you need a last-second comeback to beat the Jets here this week, and the week before you get blown out by the Atlanta Falcons. So that's something to watch here as we get down the stretch and the Raiders look to stay on top here in a playoff race.
Yeah, there are definitely teams eliminated right now, especially the Jets being one of them. We'll see what Trevor Lawrence wants to do if he wants to stay one more year at Clemson there. Another big game on the weekend here, Eric, was the Giants versus Seahawks. Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf, just a really good dynamic duo all season long. And then they go up against the Giants, who that was a game that a lot of people thought the Seahawks would have taken, but the Giants just continue to keep rolling with that offense, and Daniel Jones just doing his thing and upstaging Russell Wilson there.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I think I would definitely give this more so credit to the defense than the offense for the Giants. Obviously, they did a great job to shut down Russell Wilson, as you mentioned, and the Seahawks' DK Metcalf, I think, might have only had 1 catch in the first half alone there. So obviously just a great defensive performance all around when you hold the Seahawks to 12 points. And this might sound kind of silly, but I think the Giants, if they do make the playoffs, might be the scariest team to face here in the NFC, just from the fact that they have a chance to win what is a terrible division in the NFC East. And that's not really a team you want to lose to, but they'll be playing at home. They're guaranteed 1 home game as division winners. And as it currently sits, they would be facing the Seahawks if the season ended today. So that's interesting to watch here, especially if this defense can continue to carry this team, because, I mean, defense wins championships, and this is something we've seen the Giants do in the past, especially when they won those Super Bowls in 2007 and 2011 with Eli Manning. Their defense really managed to carry them down the stretch. And I think that's what's going to happen here, because obviously still a very close race. The Washington football team is right there. So tons to look forward to in the NFC East, even if the records aren't exactly very impressive.
Well, another team that I'm really surprised is having just a great season. Of course, they didn't have the greatest start. Was the Cleveland Browns. They're 9-3 after their win on the weekend here. So the question is how could the Browns look heading into playoffs? And also just kind of recapping that game from yesterday there, and just how good that Baker Mayfield is actually performing now. He's performing like a true #1 quarterback, it seems.
Yeah, they've definitely hit their stride on offense. And as you mentioned, 4 touchdown passes in the first half alone. Their defense might leave a little bit to desired. Obviously, the Titans did make it close there late, only losing by 6 points. But as you said, this team looks very scary, especially offensively. I think they have a great chance here down the stretch. It's going to be interesting because still within grasp is that division lead. Obviously, the Steelers are still currently undefeated, but still lots of football left to be played, and that aerial attack combined with their rushing abilities. Nick Chubb has been fantastic all season long when he has been healthy. Kareem Hunt as well in there to kind of spell him. So I think really from an offensive perspective, this team has all the tools to finally make the playoffs this year. They've just had their first winning season now since 2007. So I think there's all the tools here to get into the playoffs and maybe make a little noise.
And of course, one team that made a lot of noise yesterday was New England Patriots winning that game 45-0 against the Los Angeles Chargers. It just hasn't been the year for the Chargers, but give credit to the New England special teams who really kind of made those big plays when it mattered most in that game.
Yeah, and I mean, New England's caught a lot of flack. Obviously, everybody's been talking about how the dynasty is over. They're only 500 as it is this point. But really, with a few close games here earlier this season, lost by 5 points on Sunday Night Football to the Seattle Seahawks, and we're one fumble in field goal territory away from tying the Buffalo Bills and possibly winning that game. So really, this is a team right now that could be 8-4 and looking at the top of the division. So I don't count them out yet. And obviously, Bill Belichick is a great schemer, gives rookie quarterbacks a lot of trouble, and obviously did that here this past weekend to Justin Herbert. So again, you look at another team here that might make some noise, creep back into that playoff position, and as I mentioned, the Raiders kind of fading here down the stretch like last year. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Patriots still making the evil empire of the NFL continues to roll on.
Well, another thing here, just before we wrap up here, Carson Wentz has been a headline for most of the season with the Eagles. They did lose to the Packers, who, of course, obviously are the better team than the Eagles. But at a point where, the Eagles could possibly, if they keep collapsing, what did you make of Carson Wentz's future in Philadelphia? Is he pretty much done, or what do you think will happen to him?
Yeah, it's tough to see. I'm not sure which way they want to go. Obviously, owner Jeffrey Lurie has not been impressed so far. So it all depends, I think, depending if Doug Peterson does stick around, if they do go out and look for maybe a new coach, GM, that kind of thing as well. So a lot of moving pieces there. I think he'll still get one more shot even after this season. I know they played Jalen Hurts for a few more snaps here against the Packers this past weekend, but it'll be interesting for sure. As you said, I don't think anybody wants to give up on a quarterback who was taken number 2 overall, has had success in the past, then got injured at unfortunate times, but again, has a track record of some of that success. So I don't think they want to give up too early, especially when they gave up a ton of draft picks and then obviously taking him with the number 2 pick to get him. So I think he's still got a little bit of leash, but as you say, I think that leash is starting to tighten a little bit more here as we enter the stretch run of the NFL season.
Yeah, we'll see what definitely happens in the offseason for many teams around the league. Eric Bay, thanks a lot for joining us.
For sure.
I'm joined today with Marty Belisle. He is the maker of Marty's Christmas in Cold Lake, a big display, Christmas display at his residence. Marty, thanks for taking some time to talk to me today.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're going to be showing some pictures of this and some video while we talk, but can you just tell me a little bit about how you began? This is the 30th year that you're doing this. Just tell me a little bit of the origin story.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it is 30 years. I guess a long time ago when I had my first daughter, I thought I might put up a few Christmas decorations for first Christmas. So I hand built a nativity scene and put a few lights on it, and it turned out pretty good. So from there I said, I can probably make this a little better. And year over year, I've just been adding and putting new stuff into the display.
So this year, is there anything that's new, anything that's bigger, or is there a certain something kind of big that you want to highlight this year?
I do make changes every year, and I do add to the display every year. I do, I take some things out as they get a little older or tired, and recycle them over to my daughter and her husband have a display as well in Smoky Lake. So this year I have a couple of 4x8 pixel nets that I built, as well as added a whole bunch of RGB snowflakes into the display. So and a bunch of traditional type props I've added this year.
So for people when they come by, what should they expect?
You're going to expect something that you would see on the Great Christmas Light Fight, or that you would see on TV. I have a radio station. Basically, the front of the house is all smart lighting, RGB pixels that are programmed, sequenced to music. I have 14 different songs that you can just play through the radio in the comfort of your car on there, and pretty well the whole front of the house is covered with pixels. And if you drive along the alley, you can go right around my house. I've got an alley and the back alley as well too. And back there, I've got set up more of a traditional display, something you might have seen more in the early years with lots of bought-in props and hand-built props out there. So yeah, it's definitely it's definitely worth the view. That's for sure.
How much work does it take for you to put in to make such a big display?
Yeah, that's over the years I get that question quite a bit, and so I've actually timed it and did that. And for Christmas this year, just my outdoor setup time was about 120 hours. I do Halloween as well, so some of it is I use duplicate props with the smart lighting, but about 120 hours of outdoor setup time. That doesn't include any building other props or assembly or any sequencing or adjusting of the computer there to sequence it to music. So there's a little bit of labor involved.
And obviously this is the 30th year that you've been doing this, each year kind of a little bit different, getting bigger possibly. What do your neighbors think of this?
I've got great neighbors, like super neighbors. They're I ask them every year. I don't know, maybe they wouldn't say anything if they were concerned with it, but you know what, they've been tolerating it. And I am the longest person here on the block. I've been here the longest. I built my home here. It was one of the first homes in here, and most people in Cold Lake know that if they're going to move onto 19th Street, that they're going to probably have to deal with a little bit of my obsession. But no, for the most part, I'm super fortunate with my neighbors, and people that are coming to visit have been very good about not impeding on my neighbors' driveways or that sort of thing, because we do get a little bit of traffic.
That's great. And for people who are interested in coming by and checking this out, people in the Cold Lake area, where are you located, and what are some kind of tips or some things that people should keep in mind when they're driving by?
Well, I'm in Cold Lake North. They're at 602 19th Street. It's just basically off of the main highway as you come into the town to the left there. Probably if you're going to come, expect that there's going to probably be a little bit of traffic, so you might have to wait a little bit to get yourself into a good spot where you can crank up your radio inside and listen to the tunes on there. If I could ask, if anyone is coming to visit, if they are going to crank up their tunes, keep their windows rolled up, because it can get quite noisy if there's lots of people doing that. Quite a few people do get out and walk around to the back, down the alley and that sort of thing, and you just have to be very careful, because there is vehicles that can go by, and most importantly, especially this year, if you are going to get out and go around, look around there, wear a mask, make sure you social distance, only stay in the groups that you came with there. We don't want this to be we want this to be a COVID-free viewing, for something for people to do, especially at this time when we're pretty limited on those things.
And just before we end today, what's it like for you to be able to just contribute to the community and maybe make some people smile this holiday season?
It's super important this year. Looking back over 30 years, I think I do it for myself as much as I do it for the community. But now I have young families that are bringing their kids that actually grew up with it and got to see it when they were little kids. And so now I'm starting to see a second generation of this. I'm getting return people from Edmonton, from Lloydminster, all over the place, coming out to visit. So you know what? This is something to do, and it's just maybe a little beacon of light here in Cold Lake.
Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me today, Marty.
Perfect, JC, no problem.
Joining us here today is Christy Fletcher, the Executive Director of Music Counts. Christy, first off, give us a little background on what Music Counts is all about.
Music Counts is Canada's music education charity, and our goal is to ensure that all kids have access to music and music education through their schools and their communities. So we are a national charity. We've been around for over 20 years now, and we've allocated about $14 million worth of musical instruments to schools right across the country.
You guys are hosting a virtual concert coming up right away called Unsilent Night. Talk about what this concert is and who's all involved in it.
Yeah, well, as everybody knows, we are all being impacted. This year looks very, very different heading into the holiday season, and things look really different in the school system as well. So what might typically happen this time of year when families are supporting their kids in their holiday concerts in school, and you can invite friends and extended family to enjoy the performance, that's just not happening this year. And that's often a real rite of passage around the holiday season. So we wanted to find a way to be able to celebrate that while also celebrating the important role that music has played during the pandemic. You know, I think we all know that music has been such an important point of connection for people, for teachers, for particularly for young kids. So we wanted to bring all of that together. So we created this event called Unsilent Night, and it's a virtual event that's going to take place on December the 10th. And there are a number of artists who will be performing some holiday tunes. So we've got the Tenors, Corey Hart, an amazing young country music artist called Sasha, Fred Penner. So we've got some great Canadian talent who will also be joined by some students. So what we've done is we've taken a handful of schools from, again, right across Canada, and they'll perform some of their holiday tunes as well. So you'll be able to get a taste of what you would see at your child's school performance, and then get some Canadian artists in the mix also.
You talked about helping schools across the country. Just give us a sense of how many schools you help out annually.
On an annual basis, we will help several hundred schools a year. This year, we're actually allocating $1 million in instruments. So the number will vary a little bit from year to year. It will probably be between 200 and 300 schools that we are assisting this year. And really the need is greater now more than ever. I mean, obviously musical instruments are important, and that's such a center stone of what we do. But just as important is the resources that we've started to develop to help teachers be able to teach their kids through a pandemic. You know, that's something that's been very new for educators. You know, how are they able to engage? How are they able to teach the curriculum? So we are developing resources. We are developing a portal for students to access to talk about the music industry. You know, what types of careers are out there for students if they are passionate about music and they want to get into the music industry in some way. And then we'll continue to honor the great teachers like we always do through our Teacher of the Year awards. So, you know, there's a lot going on that we support, and obviously fundraisers like this help us do it. But as with so many different charitable organizations right now, the need is so great. So we would love people to tune in. It's $10. It's not a lot of money. But if we get enough people out there supporting us in that way, it'll just allow us to continue to do the things that we do.
You did mention some of the great talent this year that you have lined up for the Unsilent Night. Talk about how important it is for you to get those artists and also what it means to them to perform in something like this.
Yeah, it's so important for us to get that type of support from Canadian artists. You know, we're lucky to have incredible ambassadors, and, you know, they are so often really willing to help us because most of them got their start in music class. You know, these careers start somewhere, and whether you go on to be a professional musician like Corey Hart, an international superstar, or you just play drums in your basement, your passion is ignited somewhere, and it's in music class, and it's often inspired by your music teacher. So these artists are often so willing to give their time because they know how important it is, and they know how important it was to them in getting their start.
And lastly, Christy, how can people watch Unsilent Night, and also how can they get tickets if they want to watch?
Yeah, so for those who are interested, please log on to musiccounts.ca/Unsilent Night, and you can buy your tickets. They are $10 each. And again, all donations that we receive that night will go towards furthering music education for students right across the country.
Well, Christy, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully everyone gets a chance to tune in and watch this great concert that ultimately helps out a great organization. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful holiday.
All right, taking one last look here at your weather forecast. 2 degrees heading into tomorrow. Probably the last time we'll see some positive temperatures for at least a little while here as we look into Wednesday. Cloud coverage there with -1 the daytime high there, -4 there for Thursday. As we get into Friday, we are going to get a little bit colder at -8 there. -10 will start the day off there on Friday. We'll have a little bit more sun coming in on Saturday with that high there of -6. Continuing on with some pretty cold mornings over the next little bit here. And heading into Sunday, cloud coverage once again with that high of -9, and then -12 there we'll see on Monday. So we're going to see lots of chances of some cloud coverage and some colder temperatures, and possibility even we could see some flurries at some point later this week.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News. Have a great night.